Well, all eyes were on the primaries Tuesday night, but there's another candidate running in the Maine gubernatorial race as an independent. Rick Bennett held a campaign event at Gagan's in Bangor earlier today. He greeted supporters and spoke about the importance of bipartisanship in a state like Maine, as well as listing affordability and lowering energy costs among his top priorities. Bennett believes he has a good chance of winning the general election, pointing to Maine's documented history of electing independents.
I go across the state and I tell people I'm running as an independent. I cannot tell you the warm-hearted reaction I get because people desperately want an alternative to the broken party system. And I drew the conclusion personally that party politics has actually become a net negative, that it's holding us back. It's contributing to the negativity. These folks, they're good people, but they're really just about fighting with each other rather than solving our challenges and our problems. And the whole system rewards that. We need to break free of that. I'm running as an independent because I want to govern as an independent, which means collaboration. It means like working together. It means communicating. All these things that somehow we've lost in politics these days.
Bennett will be meeting with supporters at Grand Belly's Country Cafe in Medway tomorrow from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m.